What exactly is manifestation? Why has it become so popular and why has it taken Instagram by storm?
So, manifestation essentially is the process that takes place when you take something that was once part of your imagination and you turn it into your physical reality.
Chaos. What's going on inside us? That chaos which just doesn't seem to calm down because there's so much going on.
And so, when it comes to our kids as well, if we want them to thrive, it's our job to ensure that we create a safe and stable environment.
She snapped at her son because he dropped a glass of water. Well, it was not really about the water, but she felt overwhelmed. She hadn't slept, she hadn't eaten, and she just felt underappreciated. The worst part was not about her shouting, but it was the guilt that followed. All of us go through this. And we all feel that we need to sacrifice so much of ourselves to be a great mom. But what if the answer was different? What if to be a great mom, you actually have to see yourself? You actually have to recognize yourself. You actually have to be less reactive, more responsive, and you actually have to get connected from within. Our next guest is a manifestation mentor. From being 90 kilos at till the age of 16 and dropping 35 kilos with razor sharp focus, Khushbu actually thought this was going to make her super happy. But after losing all the weight, she felt a void within her. And to fulfill that void, she started moving inwards. She started doing all this inner work, which she now encourages people that she works with to do. She helps people and encourages people to step into the best version of themselves so that they are more in control, they are more at peace, and more alive. I'm so excited today to welcome Khushbu to have this conversation, well, with me and with all of us today. Hi, I'm Sneha Javeri, your fellow mommy friend and the host of Mumma Approved, a podcast where I ask all your pressing questions to all the experts in the business. Hi, Khushbu. Thank you so much for agreeing to this. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I know we're going to get so many insights and something that is something that we don't really even think about. We're just doing it for work and we're doing it for so many other things, but we're not really focusing on we're not focusing about this for motherhood. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today.
Sneha, thank you so much for having me on. And I'm so excited to chat to you about all things parenting, but how we can tie in manifestation to enhance one's parenting journey and the quality of relationships parents have with their kids, but also ensuring their kids are able to thrive in the
Yeah.
right environments.
So, for people who are not very well versed with the manifestation journey, I just want you to give me like a nutshell version for them so we can they can be up to speed when we start chatting. What exactly is manifestation? Why has it become so popular and why has it taken Instagram by storm?
So, manifestation essentially is the process that takes place when you take something that was once part of your imagination and you turn it into your physical reality. And especially now, like you rightly said, manifestation become a very popular concept. And a lot of people dismiss it as being woo woo thinking or
Yeah.
overly simplified. But really, we're manifesting all day long from the minute we're born. But now it's about using your thoughts, your words, and your actions in an intentional manner to create the life you want versus living on autopilot and recreating more of your unwanted past.
Okay, great. So, how does this manifestation approach work in the context for motherhood?
Yeah, and whether it's motherhood or any other season of life, we all have certain desires and visions about what we want this particular season of our life to look like or this particular area. And a lot of times we take what other people tell us or what we've seen growing up and assume, okay, this is how it's meant to be. And so we don't actually allow ourselves to even explore what is it that I want. When I think of my ideal relationship with my kids or my ideal scenario, what does that even look like? And so when it comes to the context of motherhood, it's really about defining what it is that you want. So when you think of I want to be a good mother, what does that even look like? Because everyone's definition of being a good mother or having good kids is very different. So number one, getting clear on that. But more importantly, it's who do I need to be in order for that to be my reality, because your reality is nothing more than a mirror reflection of you. And when I say mirror reflection of you, I'm talking about your inner world. So the thoughts you're thinking, your beliefs, your expectations, the way you're perceiving the world around you, the way you see yourself. And being that before you see evidence. And so often, it's very easy, and I work with a lot of moms, so I can say this confidently, is you waiting for an external outcome to happen before you feel like you're a good mom. But you need to now start changing how you even see yourself if you want to create those circumstances which match. But again, if you're living in self-judgment, feeling like you're inadequate, never doing enough, overwhelmed, stretched for time, you'll keep manifesting more chaos and unwanted circumstances, because again, life is just a mere reflection of you.
This is every mother's story. I think you've actually defined what all of us are doing. And
Yeah.
I also started this. I actually got like a business coach, and then manifestation was, of course, a very small part of the entire program. But it was so interesting. So I started doing this. I got the yellow journal. I got the red pen. I wake up at the right hour. I'm doing the breath work. I'm writing the manifestation goals. And the moment I get into the thick of things, 7 a.m., sorry, the kids wake up and
Yeah.
all the effort of the morning is lost, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
is something that I feel, I don't know if, I'm sure everybody goes through it in their own way, but personally, this is what I feel. Like, I feel like, oh my God, I started off so strong. I started off
Yeah.
well. I started off at a great start. I thought I
Yeah.
was going to have the best day ever, And it
Yeah.
begins with meltdowns. It begins with you feeling, what the hell's going on? I can't believe my morning has started like this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's a downward spiral. Or then, of course, then the kids go to school and then you regain that
Totally.
control. And then again, you slay it at work and then you come home and again, you feel like a failure because, of course,
Yeah.
kids are human beings and it can't really work the way you want it to work. So, how do we navigate this whole thing? Because I'm sure this is what you work with, right?
Absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you for that transparency and sharing that, because, like you said, I feel like this is a struggle that I don't want to say every mom faces. I think every human faces, whereby you are so motivated to change your life, and then you put aside this time, whether it's the morning or the evening, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. But then a trigger kicks in, or something unwanted happens, and it's back to your old unwanted patterns. And this is why most people aren't as successful in manifestation as they can be, because a lot of times people think that manifestation is something you do separate. So, okay, now that I've started my morning routine, now I'm manifesting. But you're manifesting all day, every day, from the minute you're born till the minute you leave this planet. And it's not so much about, don't get me wrong, those morning routines are really powerful, whereby you're writing in your journal, you're meditating, you're doing your breath work, but it's the rest of the day, who are you being? This is the
Yeah.
most fundamental, is who you're being dictates what you're seeing. And so it's when you're faced with an unwanted circumstance with your kids or your husband or anyone else in your environment, these are the growth opportunities that you can lean into, as asking yourself, how can I show up differently in this interaction? Right. So if I know, it's very easy for us to create these stories. I'm just someone who always loses my cool, or I just can't help myself during exam time. I always freak out. But it's looking at your patterns and saying, okay, well, I've noticed that these are the moments where I give up my power and I'm allowing myself to be controlled by the world around me, because I give up my emotional control. But how can I now go even deeper to ground myself so that I'm able to respond versus react? Because if you react, you keep creating more and more of your unwanted circumstances, because again, you're being the same version of you.
And also, I feel like the kids, and of course, psychologists tell us this, everybody, but from a very spiritual standpoint, also, and correct me if I'm wrong, that
Of course.
people around us, and of course, kids, because they're a part of us, feed through our chaos, what's going on inside us. Like, that chaos which just doesn't seem to calm down because there's so much going on.
Absolutely. And let me ask you a question, Sneha. Do you find that when you're just feeling really safe and stable in your life, that's when like everything kind of falls into place and you're just being the best version of you when you're feeling safe, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when it comes to our kids as well, if we want them to thrive, it's our job to ensure that we create a safe and stable environment with them. But if we're constantly yelling or projecting our own inadequacies on them and not create that safe environment for them, that's why kids go into depression. That's why kids are feeling anxious. That's why kids act up, because they don't feel safe. It's the same way as adults. When we don't feel safe, we act up. Kids are doing the same. And like you rightly said, is that they feed on your energy. So even
Yeah.
though you might be not, even if you might not be yelling at your kids, but if you're feeling unsafe within yourself, just your body language, your behaviors, your kids are picking up on that. And as you know, kids don't listen. They watch, they model. So whatever you're doing, your kids are doing exactly the same. And that's why doing this work on yourself, changing your relationship with yourself, taking the time out to take care of yourself, create that feeling of safety within yourself is the greatest gift you can give to your kids. Because not only are you creating that safety for yourself so that you can show up as a more present and efficient mom, but your kids are going to also feel that safety. And then that's what's going to allow them to show up in the best manner possible.
Yeah. So, what about, so of course, we speak about emotional triggers and we speak about
Yeah.
um, how our emotional triggers kind of come in the way of manifesting, in this case, manifesting a better version of ourselves, a better version of being a
Correct.
better mother, or so on and so forth. So, first of all, why do these emotional triggers hinder this path? And why do they, in fact, not aid this part?
Yeah. Well, again, it can definitely aid your path depending on how you look at it. That's the first thing. So, as much as we demonize the word triggers, triggers can actually be your biggest source of growth if you allow them to be. And so, first and foremost, when it comes to emotional triggers, the reason why it affects your manifesting journey and what you're able to manifest is because in order to control the circumstances and outcomes that manifest in your life, you need to be able to control yourself. And so when it comes to your emotional triggers, if you're constantly reacting to them and you are losing your cool and you're creating all these unwanted feelings, you don't have control of yourself. And that chaos, that lack of control is why you feel powerless in your life because you're powerless to the world around you. So that's the first thing is why managing your emotional triggers is how you step into your power because when you're in control of yourself, you regain control of the world around you. But secondly, like I said, is that we tend to look at triggers in a negative light, but if used correctly, your triggers can be an entry point for your next level because A, they're showing you where there's a wound. Because if there was no wound, you wouldn't be as emotionally reactive. You'd be able to stay grounded and calm and neutral. But secondly, your emotional triggers are telling you and giving you clarity about what it is that you want. And so let's just say that you find yourself always comparing yourself to other moms, right? It's actually highlighting to you whereby you feel like you don't have it together or you feel like you're lacking in a certain area of your life. And so it's looking at that area where you tend to compare, it's okay, how can I now show up in a better manner? So whether it's in terms of your body or your career, but maybe that's an area I need to now start prioritizing as much
Yeah.
as being as mom. Or let's just say that you're feeling any sadness or resentment, right? You're constantly feeling that sadness and resentment. A lot of times with moms, it comes from that loss of identity that comes from stepping into motherhood. So forgetting who you are beyond being a mom. Or let's just say you're feeling a feeling of guilt that usually stems from not feeling good enough and feeling like you could do more. And whether it's guilt, shame, resentment, anger, any of these emotional triggers, your emotions are nothing more than a byproduct of a story you've been telling yourself. And so when you're feeling these uncounted emotions, really ask yourself, what is the story I'm even telling myself? How am I seeing myself? What needs to change, whether it's a thought, whether it's an action, in order for me to move past these emotions versus numbing them out, which is such an easy way that most people avoid their emotions. So whether it's through alcohol, retail therapy, drugs, binging on food and sugar or alcohol, but really paying attention to those emotions, but then taking those proactive steps.
No, but what we do the best is get busy. That's the way
Yeah.
we numb everything out, right? We just get super busy.
It,
We're busy to do everything. We're busy to literally do
and
every
why?
single thing.
Why? Just out of like curiosity, especially you being a mom, why do you feel that people tend to use busyness as a way to numb out their emotions?
I use busyness because I feel, and I can't talk for everybody, but because I have two kids, of course, you have
Yeah.
full on, you have responsibilities at home. I have a business. I'm doing the podcast. I'm wearing so many hats, right? I find it the
Yeah.
easiest to get busy because then I don't have to think about anything that's bothering me. I'm literally doing this at this time. And I've given
Yeah.
myself a perfect excuse to not do the inner work, to not figure my triggers out, to not
Perfect. Yeah.
journal, as you're saying, journal correctly because you're writing your manifestation, which is great,
Yeah.
but you aren't journaling about why is this happening? Why am I triggered when my child
Spot on.
doesn't listen to me? Or why am I triggered if my child is getting late for school? Why can't I be that
Yeah.
mother who's calm and says, it's okay, she'll miss the bus, it's fine, it's okay. I mean, she'll learn eventually. I say to her that you learn, you learn. But in my head, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like, why can't she just hurry up?
And I
So,
love everything. I love everything you've just shared. And another, just to touch upon that point of, for example, saying that she learned, but then still feeling that discomfort. A lot of times people use busyness, even people who aren't moms, but a lot of times just humans in general, we use busyness because our productivity levels are tied to our self-worth. And so in order for us to feel like we are enough, it's how much more can I achieve? And then you achieve that one thing, then the next thing, but that underlying feeling of not feeling good enough, not like feeling you're doing enough, it never quite goes away. And so what ends up happening is that lack of internal validation that we're not giving to ourselves, we project that onto our kids. And so the way they're acting is a reflection in terms of how we see ourselves. And so that's why whether it's your kid missing the bus or them not doing their exams, it stirs up so many uncomfortable emotions because you're making it mean that I'm not a good mom.
yeah, it actually is that, because every single thing that they do, you've tied it so much into you without actually, and
Exactly.
my conscious mind knows that she's a different person. Both of them are different people. So
Yeah,
whatever they do in their life, I can aid them, but I can't live their life for them. So I
absolutely.
know this consciously, but in that moment, and obviously this is because we don't do the inner work, but
Yeah.
in that moment you just feel like, what's going on, and can't you just get this done? And
Yeah.
why is that? Is because, of course, because I will look like an idiot when you don't submit that
It's
homework, or if you don't reach school on time, or if you don't
that.
excel, basically. So
Oh,
yeah,
Sneha, you
yeah,
just you just hit the nail on the head. And that's like you said, consciously you know it, but that subconscious feeling, that subconscious thought and belief, it's still present, which is why no matter how much you try to think positively, it doesn't quite go away because of you're not doing the inner work. And I shared this with a client of mine yesterday, and I was like, you can write down in your journal what you want to manifest. You can create a vision board. You can say your affirmations. But if you're not actually doing the inner work, it's almost like you putting on perfume without taking a shower. It
yeah.
might work temporarily, but those long lasting results, it's not going to be present because without doing the inner work, you're still going to go back to your old patterns. And therefore, you're going to keep creating remnants of your old life.
Right. So when we say inner work,
Yeah.
let's give everyone like a flow chart. What does inner work mean
Yes.
exactly?
Okay. And inner work, okay, it starts with being brave enough to really and be curious enough to understand why you are a certain way. So a lot of times people get high on self-awareness. So really saying that, okay, I know I have a bad temper, or I know I tend to get anxious during exam time. But going one step further past self awareness and saying, okay, well, these are my patterns. How can I now show up differently in order to break these patterns? So, for example, let's just say that your pattern is yelling at your kids at 3 p.m. Okay, that self awareness is wonderful, but then it's okay. The action I need to take is I need to pay attention to my nervous system and regulate myself in order to feel calmer so that I'm not as reactive. Or let's just say that beautiful example you gave about the bus. Okay, that's my pattern whereby when my kids are running late, I always get worked up. Okay, let me understand why does this one thing, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but why is it creating so much inner turmoil? Okay, well, maybe it's again that self-worth aspect. So not the inner work for that particular mother is okay, I have to work on building on my self-worth and really highlighting all the ways in which I am a great mom versus judging myself and being stuck in this toxic cycle of self-deprecation. This is universal, is paying attention to the way you talk to yourself. Our
Yeah.
self-talk and the way we talk about ourselves and the world around us, the beliefs we hold, is really telling about what we're able to manifest. Because again, you can say, I want to manifest more money, I want to manifest healthier kids. But if you believe that nothing ever works out for you and no matter how much you try, you never win, whatever it is you're telling yourself, or you feel like you're not good enough, you will keep manifesting more circumstances and outcomes that mirror back what you believe to be true. And this is the most fundamental inner work any human has to do is paying attention to what's going up here in your mind all
Yeah,
day
because
long,
what
not
if
just
what
in the
if you
morning.
don't even what if you don't even you're not even aware to have these conversations with yourself? Like if you was if you say things like oh, maybe things never work out for me, or whatever,
Yeah.
like things like that inner chatter. What if you are so entrenched in your life that this inner chatter also doesn't exist? Like you are so head on into tuck 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 tuck, day to day, this after
Yeah.
this after this, that even that doesn't exist. Sometimes I feel,
Yeah.
for me personally, I feel that
Yeah,
also doesn't exist. It's not like I'm telling myself, oh, you are uh, worthless, or you're not a good mom, or you can't achieve
yeah,
anything, or things are not working out. But then you're not even saying the other things to yourself. You're just not saying anything to yourself. You're just doing, even the morning routine has become something to do, you know?
it
So it's
is. Yeah,
become
and
you know what I mean?
it's 1,000%. And it's about actually firstly creating that intentional time whereby you start to pay attention to yourself. But it's the same way that if you're in a doctor's office and the person next to you is like, oh, can you hear that song? Now that they've brought it to your attention, you can't get that song out of your head. And it's just going
Yeah.
on and on. And that's the same with our thoughts, is that the minute we start to pay attention, that's when we get to tap into our own inner wisdom and really pay attention. Okay, what is it that I've been telling myself up until this point? What are the thoughts that are running on autopilot without me even realizing that are also depleting my energy, my presence, and therefore my relationship with my kids and the world around me? But more importantly is, how can I now be conscious but choosing thoughts and seeing the world through the lens in which I want to see it mirrored back to me? Because I can
Yeah.
sit here all day long, Sneha, and tell you I want to be a great mom, but the rest of the day I'm, feeling burnt out and saying my kids are so frustrating. They always stress me out. I have no time. I'm so busy. I'm overwhelmed. I'm so unfulfilled. Nobody does anything. I have to do everything. Think about all these ways we just go on and on
Yes.
in our minds. And if you really start to pay attention to what am I even telling myself 90% of the day, you'll be shocked. But it's beautiful because now you get to make a choice to choose differently and think differently.
Right. Yeah, but that's so true. This is exactly what we say it out loudly. We don't even say it in our head. We're telling everyone around us that I don't have any time. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no time. So of
Oh,
course,
and
so
what you're saying is you're literally, and your life is always saying yes to you. So when you say I don't have time, I nothing works, you're literally saying please give me more lack, please give me more lack because I'm living in lack.
yeah. And time is, yeah, when you say I don't have time, you are living effectively in lack, because time is the most beautiful thing in the world, which you don't have. So, I
It's more
mean,
valuable than money. Your time is more valuable than
absolutely.
money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember the first conversation that we had, and I was getting on a call with you, and I was in the car,
Yeah.
and I was getting call waits, 4, 5 call waits. I had to meet my
Yeah.
husband somewhere. The nannies were calling me on the phone. The driver was asking me, where do we have to go? And you were on a call with me. And I said, you know what? I have to finish this call because this person doesn't even live in this country. Like, I need to finish this call, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I remember you saying, yeah, but what's the point if we are not present?
Yeah.
And you said that one line,
Oh
and
yeah.
the rest of it, I don't even know what you said after that. I was just like, we're just not present. We are not
Yeah.
present in any experience. We are not present. Like, I'm not present in any experience. If I am hugging my daughter, I'm thinking about what I have to do next after she
Yeah.
finishes hugging me. And this is so ridiculous, so ridiculous. And after you had that conversation, and you obviously just
Yeah.
said it as what we could discuss maybe today,
Yeah.
and I took
Correct.
that back because I was like, every time now she hugs me, I just sit down. I was like, no, I'm going to be
I love
present
that.
here, because I'm just like, I'm never going to get this moment back. Like, this hug that my 2-year-old is giving me, she's going to become 6, and then she's going to become 16. And this 2-year-old hug, I'm never going to get back. So I have to learn how to be present. And I
And
want to tell every single mother here what being
yeah.
present means, because we all need to understand that. What does it mean to be present?
Yeah, firstly, thank you for sharing that. I love that. I didn't even realize I said that. But when it comes to manifestation, the only thing that matters is the present moment. Who are you being right now? Because whoever you're being right now dictates what you want, sorry, what you're going to manifest in your life. And at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want a life of connection, of fulfillment, of joy, of love. But when we're not being present and actually recognizing that it already exists right now, that's how we're actually repelling the very things that we want. And in full transparency, as you were sharing your thing, I wear an Apple Watch, and I just got my watch just buzzed. And in the past, I would have always like on the side looked at my phone thinking, what is the notification? But I'm like, at the end of the day, I want a life of connection. I'm having this beautiful conversation with you right now. And me actually looking at my phone would be saying, I don't want this connection. And then guess what? I'm actually creating a life of disconnection. And when you can actually start to pay attention to all the ways you're actually repelling the very thing you want right now, that by not being present, now you can actually say that, well, then these are the changes I have to make. So whether it's sitting down and actually hugging your daughter, whether it's being at coffee with a friend and not looking at your phone, whether
Yeah.
it's, reading a book but actually reading it and getting that growth and fulfillment that comes from learning, whatever it is, but saying, okay, I'm here, how can I fully immerse myself in the here and now and make the most of it, versus thinking about all the 100 things I need to do, thinking what's on my to-do list, thinking about, oh, is my cook making dinner, or are my kids studying right now? Because that's where that mental chatter, that inner chaos, is why we create chaotic circumstances and situations at home, because of our
Yeah.
own inner chaos.
Yeah. And that is something that I think most most people, especially in maximum cities like this, most people actually, this is our challenge, where we are constantly moving on to the next task before we've even finished the first one. And in
Yeah,
all of this, I think the people who pay the price the most is the kids, because they are the ones who are craving the connection. They are the ones who need that connection, as do we with them. And this
yeah.
entire circle of connection is getting lost in our chaos because they're too young to have the chaos. So it's obviously our chaos that kind of, rubs onto them. And then this entire vicious circle is what we are, we are living every single day, which is really sad actually.
Totally.
So
And
for
so, just to add to that point, you have to realize that, kids don't have the mental faculties to process the world around us. And so they're just taking everything they're experiencing literally and creating belief systems. And so even though let's just say you're sitting with your kids and you're just mindlessly browsing on social media or you're replying to your WhatsApp, even though you love your kids, what you're telling them in that moment through your actions is you are not seen, you are not heard, you are not valued, you are not important. But the minute you can put your phone down and give your kids your entire presence, your entire energy, now you're telling them, I see you, I love you, I hear you, you matter. And can you imagine when you can fuel your kids with those beliefs, who they're going to be as adults?
absolutely, absolutely, yeah, because this is half the this inner child work and all that people are talking about, and all of this, it comes from all these things, because it's not like anybody's parent has ever tried to make them feel unseen or unheard or any of that, right? But it
No
comes
matter how
from
much you love
these.
your kids, actions, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And now we're in that position. So we're doing the
yeah.
inner child work, and then we are in the position and we are like, okay, this is going to be because she'll have to do inner child work for me. I'm going to be that person who's going to make her do
Yeah,
it.
but the beauty is you're not only are you breaking generational cycles, but you're
Yeah.
also mitigating the amount of inner work they'll have to do. Because again, no matter how amazing you are as a mom, your kids are going to be left to work on themselves, because that's why we're on this planet, to grow, to
Yes.
evolve, to work through our wounds. But we cannot use it as an excuse to not take accountability for how we're showing up and the way
Yeah.
we create the environment we create for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who have never done something like this before,
Yeah.
what would be the small, very, very like basic things that they can do when they show up tomorrow? Like from the standpoint of manifestation, from the standpoint of manifesting a better connection, a better life with their kids as mothers, what is it that they can do starting tomorrow?
The first thing that I would suggest is getting clear, what does being a good mom mean to you? Not what your mom told you a good mom is, not what your friends tell you it is, not what you grew up thinking, but when you think of you being the best mom possible, who is she? How is she showing up? Whether it's you being a more present mom, you being more hands-on mom, you being a working mom, but for you, when you think of your definition of a good mom, what is that? That's the first thing. But secondly, is giving yourself permission to take care of yourself, with the knowingness that the better care you take of yourself, the more present you are with your kids. And as a result, the deeper the connection is with your kids, but also it's going to have a positive ripple effect on them. And again, it's very easy to get caught up in the story. I don't have time. I'll do it tomorrow. And what you end up doing is you put your needs in the back burner. And that's why we end up feeling burnt out, resentful, anxious, worried, and stressed out. It's not because that's how it is, but because your nervous system is dysregulated. And it's the same way that if I keep spending money, but I don't actually replenish my bank account, I'm going to end up in a state of financial bankruptcy. It's the same with our emotions. It's if I keep giving, 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 which is what you moms are doing, right? Always giving for your kids. But if I'm not actually pouring back into myself, I'm hitting a point of emotional bankruptcy, which is why these unwanted outcomes and symptoms kick in. And so, again, lowering the bar and saying, okay, it doesn't have to be 1 hour, but can I commit every day for the next month to pour 10 minutes into me. So whether that's 10 minutes of journaling, whether that's 10 minutes of a breath work, 10 minutes of meditation, but what is it that I can do that I know makes me feel really grounded, and commit to that? And even if you can't do 10 minutes, do 5 minutes. But every day, can I show up for myself in one way intentionally?
Yeah. 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 So also the whole I've read your story, and
Yeah.
you have an inspiring story.
Thank
Um,
you.
so a lot of self-worth is given to how we look,
Absolutely.
and that self-worth is taken away when you have your children, right? Because your body changes. Some people don't manage to lose all the weight. Some people have developed insane health issues after pregnancy, all of that. So how, because you use manifestation for nutrition and health and all of that,
Yeah.
how can new moms who've just delivered incorporate this as a very important aspect in their self-care journey?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So the first thing I'd say is your relationship with yourself dictates your relationship with everything and everyone in your life. And so in order to effectively lose the weight, you and to change your relationship with food and your body, it starts with changing how you see yourself. And most women have an all or nothing mindset because of their unrealistic perfectionist tendencies. So either I'm doing everything or it doesn't count. But it's allowing yourself to be in that gray area and recognizing it's not going to be 100% perfect in this season of life, but I'm going to still stay consistent and make the best choices possible. Because so often people eat very healthily Monday to Friday, and then come Friday night, they have more wine than they expected, more cake than they expected. And then it's like, okay, you know what? I might as well just go all out this weekend, and Monday I'll start fresh. And so that pattern kicks in. But
Right.
it's, can I actually move from self judgment and actually have that self compassion to recognize one bad meal is not going to lead to, doesn't need to lead to me going all out. And also the importance of approaching your diet from a place of self worth and self love versus self judgment and inadequacy. Because so often, especially like you rightly mentioned, after you deliver and you get the go ahead that you can start to lose weight, there's so much shame for how much weight you gained. There's so much frustration. There's so much judgment because your body doesn't look the way it did. And so when you're approaching a diet, it's coming out of like, I have to lose the weight as quickly as possible because I'll only be good enough. But instead, can I look at it as an act of self love? That by me nourishing my body with the right foods, it's actually me taking care of myself. By me actually choosing to move my body in a way that feels good, it's because I value myself and my energy and how I feel in my body. And I can promise you that slight shift when you move from self judgment and inadequacy to self love and self worth, it makes it so much easier to stay consistent with your diet. And the
Yeah.
last thing that I would add to this is choosing to see your body differently. Because right now, for a lot of moms, you're seeing your body through a lens of inadequacy and shame, that it doesn't look good. It's, I've gained so much weight. But can you move the focus to gratitude and validation? You just create a human life. You are nourishing another human through your own body. Like that is something to be so proud of yourself for, if you choose it to be something you're proud of. And it's we,
Yeah.
whether it's our bodies or anything, we always have a choice how we perceive it. And you get to decide, do I want to perceive myself and my own body, which is a part of me, through a lens of self-hatred, or can I start to do so through a lens of self-appreciation? Because again, the world will treat you the way you treat yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. But and that's so true, because especially in our culture, for women to have babies is, it's really not given that much importance. It's like, of course, this
No,
is something that, I mean, you have to do this, right? This is what you are born for, to have kids. So,
100%.
when that's the narrative, and you also feel like this is your responsibility in life to have children. Of course, we all are modern parents. We say, no, we've done it out of choice. We want to have the kids. But at the back,
Correct.
the ancient story in our head is this. So when we have the children and we have whatever, I don't think any mother, however privileged, however underprivileged, I don't think any mother thinks that it is okay to care for herself over her child.
Yeah,
And that time actually is the time for you to care for yourself over the child. Because honestly,
100%.
that's like the most important time, where you're going through those hormones, you're depressed, you're feeling like shit. And that's the time where people around you also need to understand that and kind of give
Yeah,
you that little bit of a push. which doesn't happen,
Yeah.
like, in our culture, because it's just like, oh, you just had a baby. I mean, the whole world is having a baby. You've not done anything great, by the way.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so we have to tell ourselves and do that work for ourselves, saying, yes, we have done something great. We are
You have to give
phenomenal.
it to yourself.
Yeah,
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 you have to give
yeah,
yourself the validation. And especially now, so many people are struggling with fertility issues and struggling to have babies. And again, those moms are faced with those low self-worth and feeling inadequate because, like you said, it's an
yeah,
expectation you should be able to. And so the minute I'm not able to, that means there's something wrong with me. That's the way our minds perceive it.
right.
But number one, it's about recognizing that whether or not you have a baby, your worth is inherent and will forever be there, but it's your choice to see your own worth. And
Yeah,
again, nobody's gonna no you can't rely on, and that's the way we are programmed as humans, to rely on other people to tell us we're good enough, give us a pat on the back, good job, of course you deserve to take time out, but you got to give it to yourself. And I promise you, the more you give it to yourself, the world is going to start to validate you in ways you can't even imagine. Because again, this whole premise of our whole conversation and what you asked me at the start, what is manifestation? It's treating yourself the way you want the world to treat you, because your inner world shapes your outer reality. And so, as much
yeah,
as you want to lose the weight because you'll feel good enough, you got to feel good enough first, and then the weight loss will follow. If you want people to, your kids to respect you, you have to respect yourself. It's always about how are you showing up for yourself, and that's what you will manifest in your external world.
right. That's so true. That's so true. And actually, this is so important for us to do, because then eventually the kids do this. The
Yeah,
kids understand that, this is how I have to behave. This is how, and to live a more full, enriched life. They will be
yeah.
like, today we're talking about so many things about screen time and this and that. But if we are present, which we are not currently, but if we kind of learn to be more present, the kids will feel this is how relationships are built. This is, we're setting examples for them,
And you
you know?
normalize it. You actually normalize it, because whatever you're doing,
Yeah,
you're normalizing for them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
another thing which like I know you mentioned, Sneha, that you obviously are a working mom, and a lot of working moms struggle with guilt that, okay, I'm not spending as much time with my kids as if I was home with them 24/7. But again, it's a perception, because on the flip side, what an amazing example you're setting for your kids, whereby you're normalizing that you can have it all and you can be both. It doesn't have to be either or.
yeah,
And again, whether it's that or anything, your kids are always modeling whatever you preface as the norm. So
yeah.
even just start asking yourself, hey, the way I'm treating people, the way I'm talking to my body, the way I'm talking about myself, the foods that I'm eating, do I want this to be my kid's norm? And if not, then these are the changes I got to start making.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's phenomenal. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I mean, I can't tell you how. I don't know about other people who are hearing this, but for me, also, this has been an eye opener. And I'm going to
Oh,
incorporate a lot of these things from tomorrow. And I'm going to keep you
I
in the
love
loop.
chatting to you. Oh, please, oh, honestly, Sneha, please do. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. This is
No,
a
please. This was one
area
of
I love
the
chatting
the
about.
the shoots I was actually excited to do, because I knew I was going to ask you so many of my own questions.
Oh, I loved it.
But
No, and thank you for your
thank you so
transparency as
much.
well. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you so
And
much.
thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me for this amazing episode. In case you have any questions for Khushbu, please feel free to reach out, and please share, like, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.